knife in the street. Now, live for some reaction from Ingrid Carlqvist, the editor-in-chief of the newspaper Dispatch International. Ms. Carlqvist, these riots erupted after the police shooting of a man in Husby. Now, who threatened officers with a knife? Is this simply a flash response, or is there more behind it?
Well, I should say that these riots have nothing to do with the man that was shot, the 69-year-old man. We have seen these riots before in Sweden, in Denmark, in Germany, England, France. We know that in these so-called exclusion areas, people, they're just looking for a reason to riot. And, you know, Sweden has done...
But why would they be looking for a reason to riot? It's disruption.
Well, you know, every time they riot, they get more money. That's the way it works.
Wait, every time they riot, they get more money. Can you explain that?
Well, we have these exclusion areas, as we call them, where many people live with no work, they live on welfare, and the kids do very poorly in school, and so on. And they're all immigrants. And every time they riot or something happens there, the government will give them more money. Just a few weeks ago, the government decided that 15 of the worst so-called exclusion areas would have 200 more million Swedish kroner. That's approximately $13 million.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the rioters riot because they get money from the government, but then shouldn't we be blaming the Swedish government for the lack of integration? Would you agree that there's no lack of integration there?
There is a lack of integration, but, you know, the problem is not from the government or from the Swedish people. The last 20 years or so, we have seen so many immigrants coming to Sweden that really doesn't like Sweden. They don't want to integrate. They don't want to live in this society, you know, working, paying taxes and so on. The people that come here now, they come here because they know that Sweden will give them money for nothing. They don't have to work. They don't have to pay taxes. They can just stay here and get a lot of money. And that is, you know, really the problem.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me ask you this. Is this just down to a small hardcore group of troublemakers rather than something that's endemic through Sweden's minorities?
Well, I think that in these areas there are some hardcore criminals that they set fire to it, and then you have all the teenagers that really doesn't like Sweden and they don't like their city, or so they think it's fun or exciting to join in, and that's what happens. But, you know, the real problem from the beginning is that we have a lot of people that don't like Sweden. And why should they? We have a government telling them you should like Sweden because Sweden is a lousy country and all the Swedes are racist and so on. That's what our government tells them. So how can you expect anything else than this? We call it, my newspaper calls it, this is the Swedish intifada.
3 nights of street fighting, what should be done to bring it down?
You know, the police could do so much, but the Swedish police, they have told the public that they mean to do as little as possible, but they could go in there. They could use, you know, water cannons. They could do not letting people out in the streets at night. There are so many things they could do within the law. They don't do it.
Is this the Swedish that you want? Is this the Sweden that you want?
Well, what's happening now is absolutely not the Sweden I want. This is not the Sweden I grew up in. This is not Sweden. But the politicians have turned this country to something that is beginning to look like the Gaza Strip.
All right, Ingrid Carlqvist sharing with us her opinions on the situation in what's happening on the streets there in Sweden. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.